already established protocols so as to save time. As you can see, I came with prepared remarks, but I'm not going to read these remarks for two reasons. First of all, we are short of time, obviously. But secondly, I don't know who was in charge of the program, but to put me to speak behind Karen and Mary, you know, really, that speech would have just been flat. They are extremely accomplished speakers. And, you know, really, what I would like to do today is to share just a few stories about myself, not in a boastful way, but as an example to those who are graduating today. Before I do that, let me thank Mike Gitone for the work that he has done. I've been in many events where Mike has been. And Mike, you know, you are an amazing person. You do this excellent job. But the one thing that Mike always does and always has is a great sense of humility in everything he does. And that is the first lesson that all of you should learn, is that humility will get you everywhere. Sometimes it feels like it won't, but in the long run, everybody appreciates it. Mike, wherever you are, I can't see you, but I really do appreciate the way you've done this. I've been in events where you've had difficult situations, you've got important people speaking, and you know, time is short and you have to get them, but you handle it with humility. And you know, by the powers not invested in me, but because we have the powers of the people that are here, I would like to promote you from Master of Ceremonies to Director of Programs. I think you deserve that title. And thank you, Mike. I also want to thank my sister and friend, Karen Wakoli, and my brother and friend, Ambassador Moshiri, for this invitation to speak today at this important event. So thank you so much to all of you. From my prepared remarks, all I want to say is that the Rockefeller Foundation has been very instrumental in capacity building throughout its 113-year history. One of the things that I am particularly proud of was done a long time before I joined the foundation, was a program we called Rocky Docs. It was a program to train PhDs in areas that were lacking in developing nations. And this program was carried out all over the world, in Latin America, in Asia, and particularly here in Africa. And that program ended, I think, now about 15 years ago. But the reason I'm bringing this program up is that many of those who are trained in PhDs are leading global and international institutions today. And many of them have come and spoken at our events and have said how they would not be where they are but for that particular intervention by the Rockefeller Foundation. So capacity building is important. One of the greatest of our Rocky Docs that we celebrate quite a lot is Dr. Akin Adesina, who is the head of the African Development Bank. He's one of our Rocky Docs. But we also have our own, Professor Ndungu, who is our CS for the Treasury. And he has been a Rocky Doc, but also the institution that he worked for before he joined government was supported by the Rockefeller Foundation. So this capacity building is something we believe in. We believe in public policy. The beneficiaries of our programs are all government. So let me move away from my prepared remarks now and speak about myself. And I said I'm not talking about myself in a boastful way, but I want to just give you as an example, and especially to the graduating cohort of this fantastic program. So I was also once a public servant. When I graduated from the University of Nairobi a long time ago, I don't think any of the graduates were born by that time. That was in 1987. I worked for the government. I was a state counsel in the Attorney General's office. And those of you who are in my generation might remember an Attorney General called Matthew Guy Mooley. He was the Attorney General at the time. And when Amos Wako came, he found me there, and I had the pleasure to serve as his assistant. Now, I stayed in the public service for a short time. But in the 6 years that I was there, I attended many capacity building programs. In fact, I was there for 6 years, and I think I attended 10 capacity building programs. But the most important was one I attended in 1990, believe it or not, between the 22nd of February to the 30th of April, right here at Safari Park Hotel. It was not called a leadership program, but everything about it was leadership. And I still remember everything we learned during that program. Safari Park Hotel was brand new. I was 3 years in the public service. You can imagine coming to spend almost 3 months in a hotel like this. It was sponsored by the UN. It was East African. We had public servants, young as you are, from Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Many of them have gone on to do remarkable things. I can tell you about 2 of them. One of them is a good friend of mine, Mr. Thuita Mwangi, who rose to be the Secretary to the Cabinet, PS in Foreign Affairs. We had one who became the Central Bank Governor of Tanzania. We had others who rose to positions of leadership in their governments. The reason I'm telling you this story is that capacity building takes time. All right? Capacity building takes time. These leaders that you see in front of you today, had interventions maybe 10, 20, or even 30 years ago that are only bearing fruit now. So be patient. I think Karen made an excellent point. You're the leaders you've been waiting for. Let me just finish, because I can see Mary is getting impatient, by saying this. Sometimes it's very difficult. You will leave a training session like this, and you will go back to your desk, and all the things that you were told would happen when you go back actually don't happen. You go back to a reality which takes you a very long time to grapple with and say, look, this is not how things should happen. Let me give you 3 pieces of advice. Very practical. Everything that Karen and Mary told you are important. But when you sit at your desk every day, there are 3 things you can do to change your trajectory. The first thing is that we are all human beings. That means we're emotional people. We have emotions, we have needs, we have hopes, we have desires. But very often, people in power forget to be human. They forget the word human in human being. So every day that you go to work, and especially as you're serving members of the public, remember the word human in human being. It's about being human, not ticking boxes. And it goes back to the point I made about humility. Always remember that. The second thing is that some speakers have talked about people who change their lives. I think PS for Youth talked about meeting Emmanuel Lubembe, who, by the way, I was in the same high school with him. We go back a long way. And how that changed his life. There is no doubt that throughout your journey, there are people that are going to change your life. I think that we today in Kenya place too much emphasis on knowing the right people. Sometimes it is very good to know the right people. It never hurts. But sometimes the person who will change your life is somebody you don't even know. My advice to you, treat everybody as if they could change your life. They may not, you may never see them again, and especially as public servants, you might serve somebody whom you never see again. Treat them as if they will change your life. And then the third and final piece of advice, which is, I think, the hardest, is about courage. We have talked, and I've been very impressed by how inclusive this program has been, especially on issues of gender and disability. And I think that deserves a clap for the program. And to see a president of disability come and speak so powerfully in front of all of us today, I think that is significant. You cannot, yeah, yes. I think for all of us here, we must remember how much courage it takes to be a trailblazer in something that has not been done. But why am I talking about courage? Because there are going to be moments, and anybody who has been in any leadership position, especially public servants, is going to face a situation where you will be tested. It's not going to be the ordinary decisions that you take every day. You will be tested. And what you do when you are tested about decisions will determine your future. Be courageous. You have been taught what values leadership is. Be led by your values. And because I'm talking to young people, you know, I live in a multi-generational household. I have young children and grandchildren in my household. So finding what to watch on Netflix is usually the debate of the day, something that everybody, you know, would enjoy. And I would refer all you young people to a movie called Crimson Tide. Some of you may have watched it. Crimson Tide, the starring role is played by an actor whom you may have heard of called Denzel Washington, who is one of my favorite, and supporting by Gene Hackman. It's about a US submarine that is out in the middle of the ocean, and they get an order to fire a nuclear missile. And the order is not complete. It has no signature. It does not come in the way that the Navy protocols require. And the captain, I don't want to tell you too much, reacts in one way, and Denzel Washington, who was the second in command, reacts in a different way. I'm not going to tell you how they reacted because that's the story the movie is about. But it is about courage. These are public servants. The decision they were making was about life and death. Not all of you, some of you, I saw somebody in uniform here, some of you will be called to make decisions about life and death. But not all of you will. But you will always be called to make decisions about life and how life is going to be lived. That movie shows you what a public servant who is given authority and acts with courage should do, and I commend that movie to you. Thank you very much for this short time.